Moderna is an American biotechnology company based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that focuses on drug discovery, drug development, and vaccine technologies based exclusively on messenger RNA, mRNA. 5.6. The technology platform inserts synthetic mRNA into living cells that reprogram the cells to develop their own immune responses, rather than the responses being created externally and injected as with conventional medicines. It is a novel technique, previously abandoned due to the side effects of inserting RNA into cells. 789. As of November 2020 update, no mRNA drug has ever been approved for human use. 1011. Moderna has conducted mostly unsuccessful trials in traditional high-margin chronic therapeutic areas with AstraZeneca and in orphan diseases with Alexion Pharmaceuticals. In 2014, Moderna moved to focus on lower-margin vaccines, given that an mRNA vaccine, efficacy issues aside, will always stimulate a level of antibody development in subjects. 6.9. The strategic change led industry experts, and Moderna employees, to question the financial viability of the company. 6.9. In December 2018, Moderna conducted the largest biotech initial public offering, IPO, in history, raising $600 million for 8% of its shares, implying an overall valuation of $7.5 billion, and with cumulative losses of $1.5 billion and equity raised of $3.2 billion, since inception. 6.12. As of November 2020, Moderna was valued at $35 billion, and while none of its drugs had been approved, its COVID-19 vaccine candidate was close to obtaining emergency use authorization. 6.13. In 2010, Moderna Therapeutics was formed to commercialize the research of stem cell biologist Derek Rossi. Rossi had developed a method of modifying mRNA by first transfecting it into human cells, then dedifferentiating it into stem cells which could then be further redifferentiated into desired target cell types. 1415, Rossi approached fellow Harvard University faculty member Tim Springer, who solicited co-investment from Kenneth Chen, Bob Langer, and venture capital firm Flagship Ventures. 1516. In 2011, the CEO of Flagship Ventures, now Flagship Pioneering, Nubar Afian, brought in European pharma sales and operations executive Stefan Bancel as CEO. 15.7. Afian personally owned 19.5% of Moderna and was the largest single shareholder, while his fund, Flagship Pioneering, owned 18%. 17. In March 2013, Moderna and AstraZeneca signed a 5-year exclusive option agreement to discover, develop, and commercialize mRNA for treatments in the therapeutic areas of cardiovascular, metabolic and renal diseases, and selected targets for cancer. 7.18.19. The agreement included a $240 million upfront payment to Moderna, a payment that was one of the largest ever initial payments in a pharmaceutical industry licensing deal that does not involve a drug already being tested in clinical trials. 18. And an 8% share in Moderna. 17. As of May 2020 update, only one candidate has passed phase I trials, a treatment for myocardial ischemia, labeled AZD8601. A 21. In January 2014, Moderna and Alexion Pharmaceuticals entered a $125 million deal for orphan diseases in need of therapies. Alexion paid Moderna $100 million for 10 product options to develop rare disease treatments, including for Crigler-Najjar syndrome, using Moderna's mRNA therapeutics platform. 22. By 2016, Bancel told an audience of J.P. Morgan Chase investors that the work with Alexion would shortly enter human trials. However, by 2017, the program with Alexion had been scrapped as the animal trials showed that Moderna's treatment would never be safe enough for use in humans. 7.9. Jeff Ellsworth, former Senior Director of Preclinical Pharmacology and Head of Rare Genetic Diseases, Moderna, 2026. In 2014, after disappointing standalone therapeutic trials, Moderna moved to focus on mRNA vaccines given that, efficacy issues aside, mRNA will always stimulate a level of antibody development in subjects. 6.9. The change in strategy had risk given the materially lower margins of vaccine development, called loss leaders by some Moderna employees. 6. With some senior employees and industry experts questioning the future viability of the company. 6-9, Rossi left the company. 6. In February 2016, an op-ed in Nature criticized Moderna for not publishing any peer-reviewed papers on its technology, unlike most other emerging and established biotech companies, and compared its approach to that of the controversially failed Theranos. 24. In September 2018, Thrillist published article titled, "Why This Secretive Tech Startup Could Be the Next Theranos." 25. Criticizing its reputation for secrecy and the absence of scientific validation or independent peer review of its research, though having the highest valuation of any U.S. private biotech company at more than $5 billion. 7-8, a former Moderna scientist told Stat, "It's a case of the emperor's new clothes. They're running an investment firm, and then hopefully it also develops a drug that's successful." 7. In 2018 the company rebranded as Moderna Incorporated with the ticker symbol mRNA, and further increased its portfolio of vaccine development. 6. In December 2018, Moderna became the largest biotech initial public offering in history, raising $621 million, 27 million shares at $23 per share, on NASDAQ, and implying an overall valuation of $7.5 billion for the entire company. 1226. The year-end 2019 SEC filings showed that Moderna had accumulated losses of $1.5 billion since inception, with a loss of $514 million in 2019 alone. It had raised $3.2 billion in equity since 2010. 617. In March 2020, in a White House meeting between the Trump administration and pharmaceutical executives, Bancel told the president that Moderna could have a COVID-19 vaccine ready in a few months. 6. The next day, the FDA approved clinical trials for the Moderna vaccine candidate, with Moderna later receiving investment of $483 million from Operation Warp Speed. 6. Moderna board member, Moncef Slaoui, was appointed head scientist for the Operation Warp Speed project. 6. Since 2011, Moderna has been led by CEO Stéphane Bancel, a French businessman who has a pharmaceutical sales and operations background. 7-6. Bancel has been described as having a secretive approach to Moderna, and of being a tough operator. 7-6. Though never having worked with RNA before, Stat noted that Bancel is listed as a co-inventor on more than 100 of Moderna's early patent applications, unusual for a CEO who is not a PhD scientist. 7. After Noubar Afeyan and Robert Langer, Bancel is the largest individual shareholder in the company. 27.